my guru, Swami Mohandasji Maharaj. I see him walking. He's in this white linen gown. There's nothing in his hands. He says, "Open your hands." He just did his hand like this. And my hand was overflowing with all kinds of delicious dry fruits, almonds, cashew nuts. I was feeling so much peace, love pouring out of him. I said, "Can I ask you questions?" He says, "Yeah." "Is there really a heaven and hell?" I am here today with returning guest Ritu the Buff. We're going to start out talking about her experiences with her guru from India. So thank you so much for joining me again. Yes, thank you so much, Melissa, for inviting me again. And I have so much more to share. And you are mentioning that I should start with my guru. So, where do I begin? I can talk for hours and days about him. So, his name is Swami Mohandasji Maharaj. And ever since he was born into a royal family in India, but he was always interested in the spiritual seeking, wanted to know who God is and who he is. And he was only 5 years old. He went into the jungles in the state called Rajasthan. And way back then, this is almost 90 years ago. And he was there all alone. And in these caves, he did his tapasya. Are you familiar with the word? Your viewers are familiar with the word tapasya. It's like penance, the spiritual practices. And without going into the whole story, I have actually all his biographical short 15-minute videos on my YouTube channel. But in short, that he was a completely realized master. He was visited by the source and granted that he will never, he said, he came in the form of a child and said, "You will never want for anything." And since then, he has not wanted for anything. What does that mean? It does not mean that immediately he just was able to come into his fullness of his self-realization, or what we can call merging with the divine, but he got powers. It's like the Midas touch, whatever you want to wish for. And he had his own guru. So this is a lineage of gurus. And as you know, in India, since ancient times, thousands of years ago, there were people like my guru who started this search of asking, "Who am I?" And they then realized that what human nature is really wanting is the infinite, the unlimited, that no matter how much we have, either it's temporary or that it's not fulfilling. And so where is the end to this limit? And so instead of looking for researching outside, they went inside. And so that's where it started, the hundreds and thousands of years of doing penance and meditation and sitting in one place and everybody researching. These are like all ancient time scientists that were researching into this big question. And they found out that they themselves are the source. That's Aham Brahmasmi, I am that, Tattvamasi, so are you, and that everything is the source. And so their method of how you can get to that point was passed on orally.
And at one point, let's say about 5,000 years ago, historians are not perfectly sure, but the rishis, the sages, the yogis, they realized that future coming generations will need it written down. So that is when our spiritual texts called Vedas, they were written. But eventually, all other spiritual texts came on after those simplified versions of what was already written in Vedas, because people were losing the capacity, the grasp of the concepts, the essence of what was being conveyed in them. So my guru belongs to the same lineage of the masters, and he is this present day master. At the age of about 95 or 97, I'm not sure, in 2013, he left his body, but he is still very much present among us. There are so many, even someone who has never known him. I just got a testimonial from someone this weekend who didn't even know him and was visited by my guru, just like in flesh and blood, and answering his questions. And so he's still very much here. So even when he was in his body, he would be simultaneously at many places. And he perfected that. So he was a perfected yogi. Not only was he an enlightened master, but he spent many, many years in natural caves underground to do his spiritual practices, the yogic practices, and he perfected them. So he's like the master of the masters of yogis. And so we got to see those powers, and we got to see that all of those capacities are within each one of us. Each one of us can develop those if we want. And he was one of those rare ones that chose to develop. So my first meeting with him when I went to his ashram was I got to see 3 big miracles. When he came to receive us, I was with my family, and there was a long, about 10 minutes of walking distance between the outside where our car was parked, and there was a big, huge metal gate, and his ashram was just being built. So there was just whole big acres of land, and there was a big walkway, and then there was a small kitchen and a big sitting room where the people who are wanting to visit my guru at his ashram, they can come and sit there and have his darshan. So this was our first time. We did not know anything about him other than, okay, he's a saint. But that is not a new thing for when you're living in India, growing up in India. There are so many sages and yogis and saints. You don't know any differently. And I definitely didn't know anything about what a guru is or anything like that. I had my own spiritual seeking, as I've already mentioned in my previous podcast with you. And even though I had visited many other saints before, and I felt that peace around them and that silence around them, I never felt the need to talk to them or the urge to have a conversation with them. Okay, so going to when our first visit, we got out of the car and we see, my whole family sees my guru is walking towards the gate all by himself. And we were so surprised that, look at this. This is such a great saint, and he's coming to receive us, walking all the way. Look at his humility. And he opened the gate, and we in Sanatan Dharma, in Hinduism, we touch the feet of any revered person and a saint. We touched his feet. He blessed us, and he had us walk with him all the way to the room. Right outside the room, when we stopped, he said, "Okay, you go inside and sit down. There are other people in there. I'll be back in just a minute." And we went inside, and there were lots of people sitting there, just sitting there quietly. So after a minute or two after we settled down, my mother said to the lady next to her, she said, "Look at this great saint. He came all the way to outside to the gate to receive us and to bless us. We are amazed." And it's like, "What are you talking about?" I call him Maharajji. And so Maharajji was sitting right here just before you entered the room. He just stepped out, and he was sitting here the whole time, like literally as soon as you walked in, he walked out. Like, what does that mean? Doesn't make any sense. And after that, a few minutes later, we were doing a gathering in the courtyard. There was no roof on top, and there was a gathering for kirtan. Kirtan, you understand? It's like the devotional singing. And my guru used to sing beautifully. This was our first time. It's a great blessing to be attending that. And suddenly I see there's this jet black clouds that are right over us. And I am more concerned about how am I going to rush very fast and be under the awning, when that rain comes. And I look around me and nobody else seems to be concerned. These are all his old devotees that have been coming there. And everybody's just sitting there. It's like, why aren't they bothered that everything's going to be soaking wet? Because these are black clouds right on top of us. And then the kirtan is going on and everybody's enjoying and singing along and clapping. And then suddenly there is this torrential rain. And like, oh my gosh, I need to run and get run towards the room. And then I look, there is torrential rain, but that whole square where we were all sitting, not a drop of water. As if there is this invisible roof on top of us. And so that was another miracle. And then towards the end, when we were walking away, we were ready to leave, my parents had already walked to the car, and I was still coming out of the room. And then my guru called out to me, and he's walking from distance away, and he says, "Ritu, stop, take prasad." Prasad is like a consecrated offering. Anything a guru, yogi, saint gives to you, it's like a blessed offering. It's usually some kind of fruit or some kind of sweet, something to eat. It could be dry fruit. Typically, those are the prasad that you get. And I'm looking at him. It's like, okay, then where is the prasad? Because I see him walking. He's just in this white cotton linen gown, sleeveless, and there's nothing in his hands. So I'm expecting, some eatable item to be somewhere around. It's not in the room. It's not around me. And so he says, "Wait, take prasad." And so I wasn't sure. I'm looking around. Maybe there is somebody else who's going to bring something, a plate of food or something. He's going to pick something out of it and give it to me. And so he came and he stood in front of me, and I didn't know. I'm still waiting for some food to arrive. And he says, "Take prasad, open your hands." And so typically, we fold our hands open like this. And I did that in front. And I was thoroughly confused. His hands are empty. There's nothing. And he just did his hand like this on top of and my hand was overflowing with dry fruit, all kinds of delicious dry fruits, almonds and cashew nuts and all those things. And so that was, then I was just feeling so much peace and connection, this love just pouring out of him. So I don't know, something in me felt comfortable enough, even though I was such a shy and timid person. I wanted to like, let me just ask him this question. I said, can I ask you a question? He says, yeah. So I said, is there really a heaven and hell? And because that's what you hear about, everything is a threat. Heaven and hell. Or there are Hindi words for, heaven and hell. But you hear that. So he looks at me for a second. He says, no, there is no heaven or hell. It is all your state of mind. It didn't really register completely to me, but then I just, as you're curious, I went on to ask another question. I don't remember what question I asked, but he looked at me and said, all the answers to all your questions are within you. Go experience them for yourself. And there was such a finality to it. It's not like a regular statement. It just felt like that's final. I cannot ask him more questions. I have to experience them for myself. So this was my beginning, and I did not know anything about what guru is or what do you go about doing. But at that time also, he gave me a guru mantra, which many years later, I found out that is a way of guru to initiate you. And once the guru gives you that guru mantra, he is taking your soul's responsibility to be with you, to hold your hand, to take you to that final freedom, the self-realization. And lifetime after lifetime, even no matter how long it takes. And so it's not that they will give it to, I later on learned that it's very, very rare that they will just give it themselves to someone. Usually people have to ask them. Typically, people have to ask them. And even that is not a guarantee that you will get it. You may get it then, you may get it much later, you may never get it, or you may be totally refused. And so after that, I also came to know after many, many years, after I had so many of my own experiences. So when I talk to people, all his other devotees and people who had been initiated and people who had not been initiated by him, I came to know, and also I got to experience so many of the miracles. So as I have been very interested in Christianity also, I've had past lifetimes as a Catholic nun. And I remembered it, and I have been told by many mediums. So I was very interested. There is hardly any movie or documentary that comes out about Jesus that I wasn't interested in. So I would see the parallels, everything that I read, the miracles of Jesus that I read, that I saw in my guru. They were those and several more, and thousands of times more. So healing people, appearing simultaneously, even when he is in his body, in his physical body, appearing simultaneously all over the globe, and then going into many, many days of samadhi. Are you familiar with that? It's like that trance state meditation where his eyes are open. So there's a YouTube video of one of those samadhi also. And there were many doctors, scientists who one time he allowed them to check. They cut him while he was in samadhi, no vitals. He had no pulse. He had no blood came out. And just no movement, not even blinking of the eyes. And so, but while he was in samadhi, he's all over the planet. He's visiting people, he is healing people, he is fixing people's problems, or whoever is calling him, for his help. And then he would be so many incidents where things would get changed. Like if he needed to teach somebody a lesson that you are, humility, for example, person is bringing, he's very rich, for example, and he is bringing him some food to eat. It's like, look, I can get this such expensive food and bring it to you as a offering. So he would make that, let's say somebody brought a box of something very expensive, some kind of sweets or fruits or dry fruits or something. When he would public in front of the public, he would have that person, okay, oh great, you brought this offering, open it so we can all share it. And when he would open it, it would be empty. And then that would be his chance to like point, oh, is this your devotion? Is this what you're bringing to me? Is this way you want to insult me or show me that I mean nothing? Some things like that. And the person would be eventually so humiliated or feel like, because I brought it with the wrong intention. I was bringing this offering not out of love or devotion, but to show how powerful I am, or how, So many, many, many incidents like that. And then there was not ever any person who could leave his ashram or wherever he happens to be. If he's visiting somebody's house, if he's sitting there, nobody could leave without eating something and having food. And so there were times when people would come to his ashram when it was being newly built and there weren't all those people to serve in the cook or serve in the kitchen. There were only one or two people still over there. And then it's not proper lunch time or dinner time. And suddenly cars of people would arrive because they were passing by and they wanted his blessings. So he would just say, okay, how many rotis? Roti is like the Indian bread. How many are there any left over? And so it's like, yeah, maybe just two. There are just only two left in there. What do we do? It's like there are 15 people. And it's like, okay, just bring it. And how much of the sabji, which is the dish, the vegetable dish, how much of that is left? It's like just maybe 3 or 4 teaspoons, just enough. We were just ready to wash the utensils. It's like, no, just bring it. And then he would sit and he would have everybody sit in front of him and he would just put his hand and he would personally serve everybody. And everybody would be served, eaten till they are full. And then they would pack because it's prasad. So they would also pack food and take it with them. So there's so many incidents like that. And so many people who were had diseases, sometimes terminal illnesses, like cancer, end stage cancer, or somebody's almost dying of heart attack, or somebody has an accident, they ended up in the hospital. He would arrive there and he would take it away. Sometimes he would show that he's taken it upon himself. So he would have those symptoms, all those symptoms that the devotees were having. But the devotee, if that could have meant that they were going to suffer with it for 20, 30 years, it would appear on him for maybe 1 day or 2 days. And it would be transmuted. Everything would disappear. And what else? I had so you could not take his picture. You could not take his photograph or say, I'm gonna upload it to YouTube, or he visited us, we're gonna make a video out of it, or write a book about him. And he guarded that. And later on I learned that master, his intention is not to be so popular, to be in the media so much, because he has a different mission to be there for eons. I don't know, millions of years or thousands of years till this planet is going on, to be there for people. And he would create incidents sometimes when there were a lot of crowds coming in, because word of mouth, people hear these miracles happening. And when they would come, and he knew that they were there just sometimes because of, it's shallow. It's not really out of devotion. He would create something, some kind of incident to weed out those people, because he knew they're going to feel disillusioned or disenchanted. And say, for example, one time there were so many people, like thousands of people just coming from everywhere. And he did not want that. He managed to get a big robbery happen within the ashram. So there was a lot of gold and silver type of gifted items by people that were there. And so a lot of those things got stolen. And so a lot of these people, they got disillusioned. It's like, but what kind of saint is that? What kind of powers does he have? If things can get stolen from right under his nose and within his ashram, then how safe are we? Well, maybe we just heard it incorrectly. And then those people would get weeded out. And he knew everything about everybody. And so that was another thing with him. When you came in front of him, or even if you didn't come in front of him, he knew everything, your entire soul journey, not you as this person in this human body, but your whole soul journey. So he knew why you were coming to him. So he would interact with you accordingly. He would give you very customized directions of to further your spiritual journey. He knew what you were capable of. Not that what your highest potential is, of course. He is seeing the source inside you as the source. He is seeing that. But at this time, at this present moment, what is your capacity? According to that, he would interact with you. So if you talk to 500 people who are followers of my guru, you will hear 500 different stories of what directions he gave them. It was not one system fit everybody. Each person got customized directions, customized practice. Somebody might be told just to do the chanting in the morning, 3 rounds of the beads. We have 108 beads in one neck, in that mala. We call it mala. And so in maybe 3 rounds, somebody might be called do it at nighttime. Somebody might be told, do it 10 rounds of this in mala. Somebody might be told to do a specific type of meditation, things like that. And somebody might be given some project to do, which we call like karma yoga, that this person is more suited. So whatever that person was perfectly suited for. And so he might give you direction which is not suited so much for me, or that is not my natural tendency to imbibe that, to follow it in that way. He knew, and that was another miraculous thing we saw, that we didn't see with many other masters that I have studied or met. No, they don't have that kind of, they're not doing that kind of very customized. And then along the process, he knew no matter where you're sitting, because mostly he was in India, but he traveled, he was always traveling. So he would come many times to, every year, many times to Canada and USA also. So I did get to spend many days with him. For example, if he was here for 3 weeks, like almost 24 hours a day, 3 weeks with him, and I get to see him that up close, not just for like 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And what I saw in him is pure absence of any mind or conflict, not not an iota of it, just pure flowing. His every gesture, every word, every movement had a meaning. And there was no hesitation in anything. It was just source flowing through him. And he knew everything that you hadn't even thought of yet. He would address you. For example, one time I was visiting, but I thought, I'm going to pen down some of the words, some questions that I have in my mind. And I'm going to then, give it to him, because whenever he finds it appropriate, if he can answer them. Although I was quite hesitant. I did not know if he would ever answer them. That was the thing. Because for me, unlike others, he would not answer any questions for me. Because remember, way back then, he had told me, you go experience them for yourself. So it was almost like he wanted me to come up with my own insights. And of course, in the subtle, he's always guiding me, but there were only very rare few times when he actually gave me answers or validated something, some experience I was having. Excuse me. I had written those down, and then I walked into the room later that evening after the satsang, which we called the gathering, was over. He said, I got your questions. So like, no, wait a minute. No, I still have them. It's like, what is he talking about? This is way in the beginning when I did not know about these things, because I lived in USA. He lived over there. People who lived around him or visited him all the time, every day, they knew these things. I did not know about these things. It's like, so we had back and forth, back and forth. And I'm thinking maybe he's referring to something else that I might have written 2 months ago, or a letter I might have sent him. And no, then he told me, it's like, okay, is this what you asked? This what you asked? This what you asked? Oh no. So it doesn't even matter. I don't even have to write them down. And so this is what we hear about God, right? The omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent. And so it wasn't just me, about everybody. He knew what they were thinking, and he never forgot anything. So if 20 years ago somebody had walked into the ashram and, let's say, donated, because there's a lot of charity work he did. There's education of the poor and free medical clinic, free school, and a lot of the natural disasters that happen, a lot of that charity work also. So people donate. And even though it was not in his physical presence, and somebody, like if I walked into the ashram and then I put $10 in that, even 20 years later, he could bring that up and say, it's like every single thing, every calculation. He knew everything. And he knows sometimes it's hard when I'm talking to people to say knew or knows because he's very much here. And we get daily testimonials of people talking to him visiting them, guiding them. And he would appear, in people's house. People were in the hospital or at the site of the accident. People say he was right here and he said, don't let them do surgery. You'll be just fine. And he was just standing right here. So there are so many, I have recorded testimonials of so many people who were healed like that, where they were admitted for surgery and they were told, just you won't need surgery. You'll be just fine. Just like how we hear so many NDEers when they go and they're told, well, you go back, you will be fine, you will recover like that. And so, but here he is. So in real life body in front of us. So one of the experiences that I had, I'm going to weave that in where I had this experience of what it feels like to be completely empty. What does one who is enlightened, what kind of state that is? What is my guru's state? So a tiny little glimpse of it. This has happened when I had a children's party happening at my place. These are a bunch of teenagers and they're all hungry. And I had told them that that particular day I'll buy them this Chinese food that's close to my house. And it's a tiny little, like a drive-through joint. There's not a whole lot of space for you to go through the drive-through and a whole lot of parking space. So I had my son sitting next to me, said, before your friends arrive, let's go get the food. And these are the days when was already having a lot of STEs. My Kundalini was completely awakened. I was having meditate and Kundalini experiences. But I was told by my guru, the only instruction he gave me is do not focus on any experience. Let them go. It's just like clouds passing by. Just do not focus. And he said that they can become an obstacle. It can be a trapping. So it's like milestones, right? Just let them pass by. So I was not focusing on any of these experiences. This is much later when he allowed me to talk in 2010. He allowed me to talk. That is when I had to then sit down and it's like, now you tell me. Now I have to recall all those things. But so I was in that state, not really knowing every day is just flowing by the way it is. I go there right before you get into the drive-through where you have to order your food. There is this big truck. So it's not, it's like maybe somebody who owns a construction company kind of truck that they would have. And it was blocking the entire way to get to the drive-through. And I could not understand. So I'm blocked and behind him. So 1 minute goes by, 2 minutes goes by, 3 minutes goes by, and it's like he's not moving. He either needs to leave the parking lot or he needs to go through the drive-through some way because I'm completely blocked. So as is, what do? I just very, very gently honked. It wasn't a full honk, I swear. It was just the most gentlest little push on it. He just got out of that truck. He was livid. He had furious and his face was just enraged and red and his eyes just blazing red. And he came to my car window, which wasn't rolled down. And he's just hurling abuses at me, and I don't know what all he was saying. But I felt like if he had a gun at that point, he was so furious, he would have just shot at me. He was just screaming. And what I experienced at that time was pure presence, pure emptiness. It was like I am not there. It's not like, okay, I'm sitting there, I am calm, and I am not bothered by it. It's not like that. It's like so empty that that's just like infinite space. And it's just empty. Or I could describe it like if I was like, there was this force field and somebody's shooting bullets, and it's like it's soundproof. Nothing's coming through and nothing can touch it. And not that my mini self, my body is not there, but it's almost like that I am, and the macro, the cosmic self, and the mini self, they're simultaneously. And all I am is this pure compassion. Not like I'm dead to whatever he's doing or saying, but just pure compassion. And I'm just feeling bad for that person. And I just kind of love and compassion. I just want him to feel better. It's like when as a mother, you have this infant baby who's just crying, and you just want to embrace that baby. It's like, how can I soothe this baby? And that's kind of the feeling that I'm having. And it's not that I am having, that's what I am. At that time, just pure emptiness and presence, that he could just feel better. Like he could just, not be suffering like this, not be angry like this. And so finally, when he went on and on, the mini self part of me, I just rolled down my window and I just like very calmly, I just apologized to him. It's like, I'm so sorry. I did not mean to offend you. I then paused and just still swearing. He went in his car and he slammed the car door shut. And then he slammed on his accelerator and he zoomed through the drive. He placed his order and then he slammed on his car, on his accelerator, and he went to the window where you pay for so whatever time it takes them, 5-10 minutes to get his order, he paid them. So this whole time I am placing my order and I'm waiting at that safe distance. Not that I was worried or anything, but that entire time I am this presence. At the same time, I'm ordering food also. So it's simultaneous. But I'm keeping my distance. It's like, I don't know, he might just, put his truck in reverse and jam it into my car in the back. Who knows? But I am just going to stay over here until I'm told, until he leaves. But that whole time, it's just like this flow of compassion and emptiness and presence. And when he leaves calmly. And I go to the window, they give me my food, and then it was, I don't remember, $60, $70, something like that. And I asked them, and they're like, okay, thank you. I was like, what does that mean? They don't want money. It's like, well, how much is it? He says, no problem. That man paid for you.
Wow.
That was my realization. Much later, well, at that time, I felt like this is how what energy impacts other people. It can influence them. That not only he calmed down, because the whole time he was, pushing on that accelerator. And then he left very calmly. And then he might have felt guilty or something. But it was that quick. His energy shifted. And that this is how we can be in our own presence. And when my guru says that you don't have to run around necessarily, have to run around doing good for people, it's amazing if you can, right? But be selfish in a way. I'm paraphrasing him. He did not say the word selfish, but I'm saying that be selfish within your own self-discovery, within your own getting to your own self-realization. You are healing people just with, even if you're totally silent and you don't lift a finger, you are impacting people. You are purifying their energy. And you don't even realize how much you are helping them. So these were mere words for me before, until that day. Of course, I had been doing energy healing work, right? I had been doing Reiki since my STE, as I might have mentioned in my podcast. But that is I am a conduit here and I'm channeling the Reiki energy, the divine energy to do the healing. That was an enormous realization for me that indeed, the purer you are, that is why people flock from all over the world to these saints, to my guru, that they just want to be in his presence. And he may not even lift a finger to do anything. And then we visit his ashram, even when he's not there physically present, people still go by the droves to just sit there. That is what that divine energy does to you. Purifies you, and it puts you in that meditative state. It puts you in touch with your soul. So that was my realization. And that is how it got I thought maybe even if that was just maybe 1% of what the permanent state of my guru is, when you're completely merged with the source, that is how their state is. And that is why when they say, follow me, listen to what I am saying, they are not saying from their temporary identity with their name or their body. Because at that time, I wasn't my body. I wasn't my name. That did not matter. I had a body. I had a mind. And I had a name, but that did not matter. But that is their perpetual 24/7. That's his state. And he's functioning from that. And he's present among us from that. And we saw many, many beings that would come to him in different forms. And he would appear to many people in different forms. Oh, I have to tell you this one.
Yes.
There are so many people whom, for his, not just devotees, but I have testimonials from the devotees, where he would go do some of their work for them because it was needed to be done. For example, for one devotee, my guru asked him to do some work for him. And that day, there was some very important meeting that was going to happen at his office because he's a executive level. And there were some very important contracts and some signatures needed. So he couldn't, because this person had to go out of town and he got delayed in finishing up the work that my guru had given to him. And by the time he went back to his office, he had informed them, I'm going to be late. If you can delay the meeting or postpone it, we will get through that when I get back. When he gets back, they're all congratulating him, and it's like, yeah, we got the deal, we got this contract we had always been. It's like, what are you talking about? I wasn't here. Why did you go through it? How did you do it without me? It's like, well, yeah, you had told us to postpone it, but then you showed up. And then so we went through with it. And it's like, but what about the signatures? They're like, are you okay? Well, what are you talking about? You were in the meeting and you signed, and they're showing him the files, and those are his signatures. Wow. So we have many incidents like these where my guru has appeared as that person to carry on his task. There's another incident where, even though he was not doing a task that my guru had asked him to do, this professor, he had been helping private tutoring a friend's daughter. So she had a lot of difficulty with a couple of science subjects. And so he has said, okay, I will help you. He would go to her house frequently until her final exams, to get her through so she can have good grades. And those were like very important college entrance exams, something like that. So this particular day, right before her final exams, he had promised her, I'll be at your house at 3 p.m. and we will go through the last preparation, the questions that might be asked, and I'll help you prepare for those. So she had been waiting for him. And right around 1 p.m. or something, his wife had an medical emergency. So he had to rush her to the emergency room. They were in the hospital, and he got so wrapped up in the medical, he completely forgot about, and this is way before we had cell phones and things like that. So there was nothing to remind him, and no way, even if he had remembered to get in touch with her, he completely forgot about it. So the next day, he comes home. He is going towards the bus stop where he used to catch his bus to go to his work. There he sees that girl and her parents. They're coming towards him and running towards him and thanking him profusely that, how well she knows she did in these exams, because everything that he had taught her was in the exams, and she was able to answer everything perfectly. And that everything that he had prepared her the day before appeared in the exams. Like, and he immediately felt very embarrassed when he saw this. Like, I have to apologize to you that I couldn't show up, and I feel I would have never done that. I let you down. It's like, no. What are you saying? You came, and exactly the questions you prepared me for were in the exam. And I aced my exam. I know I aced it. So you should, I want to thank you. And so he says, you were there. You came to the house. What are you talking about? He couldn't understand. So he used to pretty frequently visit my Guruji's ashram because he lived nearby. So as soon as he entered the ashram, Guru said, okay, so you ate the sweets that they gave you, so and so, the name, that she's gonna do well. Isn't she gonna do well in the exam? Isn't that what she said? So he's like, he knew that Guru had gone and done that. So there are so many incidents like that. So what else? Healing so many people. There was even one time person had died, had literally died, not NDE like death, but actually died, and he made him alive. But then after that, he said that his guru told him not to do this again. not to use his powers that way again. So it wasn't like he was just using these powers willy-nilly or doing these miracles all the time. But then there were times when it was very much necessary and needed and directed by the source self to do them. But there were so many times when it's blazing hot sun and they are conducting some outdoor event and there's not even electricity enough, fans, and people are going to be sweating to death and not really able to pay attention to the program. So then they would request the guru, what what should we do? It's like, okay, well, we will see. And then right before that event, there was suddenly out of nowhere, there'll be nice rain, everything would cool down, or there would be breeze, or in this a different event, this outdoor event's going to happen and it's torrential rain, just almost to the level of flooding. And then he would just do his hand like that, and just like a switch on off, everything would shut down. Like, so total control over nature to so many incidents like that. And he would the like shower of not water drops, but shower of like dry fruit from the sky on top of people, and so they can grab. Yeah. So one person one time was, there were terrorists. At one point, there was a lot of terrorism going on in India, and there were some terrorists who, when there are saints like that and they have that many powers, as you know, we know Jesus' story, we know so many Socrates, we know they want to eliminate you. They are right. And so at this point, there were some terror groups that wanted him eliminated. And so they even arrived one day at the ashram. Long story short, they brought all their AK-47s or that type of, I don't know what machine guns or rifles they had. And everybody who was at the ashram, serving at the ashram, they lined them up, but they were going to kill them. It's like, you tell us where he is. And, my guru, and they couldn't see him, even though he was there inside. And so, but nobody wanted to say because they were fearing he is inside, they're going to go kill him. And so they went inside, they couldn't see him. So they were even more furious, right? That these people know, where are they hiding him? We're going to shoot all of you. They lined them up. You tell us, where are you hiding him? But they didn't. It's like, we don't know. He was right here. We don't know. We can't tell you anything different. And they lined them up. They were ready to shoot them, and no, their guns jammed. Every single person's, they got terrified and they ran away. They never ever came back because people living there, they know, they got to taste the power. And right after that, my guru comes out like, what is this noise about? What is this chaos going on? Mhm. Yeah, yeah. So he would act like that. So when he said, I don't know anything. What powers? I don't have any. He would act, there was this childlike child. You were just in this presence of this just pure innocence, pure love, pure peace. And that was the first time I got to know who he is after my STE, the one that I talked about in previous
Yeah.
podcast. So few months later, I visited. Up until then, I just thought, okay, he's a saint. He's given me a guru mantra. I just chanted right about it. He has powers because all saints have powers. And I have his blessings. That's good enough for me to feel good. I go in his presence, and as soon as I walked into the room, I felt that pure, purer than pure love, just overflowing, that coming from him where he was sitting. And that is the first time. And that same crying, the bawling that I was doing during my STE, the tears just started flowing. I even have a picture of it. My eyes are swollen from so many tears coming. We were there for at least 2 hours sitting in his presence the entire time. Tears was just gushing out of my eyes. And this, that was, in a way, like my first pure realization who he is this. He is this unmanifest, formless source sitting in human body. He is this, the guru, the Satguru, the guru who can take you to that divine truth. And that first full realization that came to me. And another time where we were in that same visit that I had to India, there was an outdoor event. There were, I don't know, maybe 1,000 people sitting there, and microphones and big speaker systems. And he is doing his discourse. He hardly did discourse. All his discourse was in the form of songs, like poetry. So he would sing with music, and he's singing, and we're all watching him singing. And then suddenly I see there's nothing but this shimmering just energy, like light. By this time, I'm very familiar with the whole energy thing because I had started doing Reiki by this time. And so it's just this most indescribable kind of that bluish that's behind me, kind of that purplish, bluish, just dancing vibrations, just energy right where he was sitting. But the voice is coming from there, but his form is not present. And it was like that for almost half an hour that I saw. I closed my eyes, and I look again. It's like, no, I'm just noticing that for something's my illusion of my eyes, but it was like that for so long. And so later on, I came to know that at that very same time, he was at other places. So he could be just doing a function like that, a program like that. And for everybody else, he's still sitting there. But I saw him, no form, just that vibrating energy, just like dancing, like purple stars. I don't know how to describe that more than that. But the voice was coming from there, and yet he was not there. So other incidents, like for one time, a person was insisting, an ignorant person, like, I want to take a photograph. He just like, he won't know. I can just cheat, not tell him, and I'm gonna take a picture. And he had said, no, nobody's going to take any pictures. But this person brought this brand new, fancy, I don't know, probably $2,000 camera. And he had been clicking pictures during his visit over there outside as he was touring. He was one of the tourists who came there. And right when he was going to click the picture without my guru not knowing, like he's not looking at him, his camera jammed. And it never worked after that.
Oh, no.
So we've also seen where if he's not given the permission, sometimes he's allowed that picture. So if there are 30 people in the group and he's sitting there, the picture everybody will be in the picture, but he won't be there. You can't see him in the picture, even though at that time when the camera was being taken, he was there. So many other miraculous powers that we see. And every time, just like Jesus, he said the same thing. This is equally available to every single person. This is everybody's capacity. It's up to each person. This is nothing special, more special with me than with anybody else. So we got to see right in front of us what a human capacity is, and to get to value human birth, get to value this human body, that all of these powers are within these bones and muscles that we think are just bones and muscles and some tissues and organs, that there is all this energy in a subtle, and I say in the modern language, like encrypted files inside us that are under lock and key, and we just need that security key to unlock them. And the scriptures, Sanatan Dharma scriptures have said that on your own, on this path, spiritual path, because it is so subtle, you can go only up to a certain extent. And at the most, you can go up to 6th chakra. And beyond that, you will need a enlightened master like my guru to take you further up than that to unlock. And so we have seen proof after proof that even when you've heard of Lord Rama, Lord Krishna, the Hare Rama, Hare Krishna. So we say they were avatars of Lord Vishnu. They came as in human body. That even when so-called gods of the Holy Trinity, the Vishnu, Shiva, Brahma, even when they come in human body, in human form on this planet, they have to go to a guru to get the blessings. So even when Ram came, even though that was Lord Vishnu himself, he went to a guru. Lord Krishna came, he went to a guru. So any saints who have come, and so Lord Jesus went to John the Baptist, right? That was his guru. So even if it's, you have to have that initiation. And so that's when you are taken further up after that. So it's some lifetime or the other. When you are willing and you are ready, then a master will appear and come to you and take you. But even if not in this lifetime, if he or she, because soul doesn't have a gender, but whatever human form they were initially in, that they are still with you and guiding you, and they'll appear to you based on, how much willingness or readiness you have.
Ritu, thank you so much for sharing about your guru. Honestly, this is my favorite interview that I've ever done, because this is of great personal interest to me. If you want to share more, the invitation is always open to come back, because I could listen to you for hours.
So I have ones from alternate reality, where I experienced, where I got to know there is so much more to this. Even beyond, the other realms, that there are parallel lives and alternate realities happening in this space and time dimension. So
thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, I will see you next time.
I will see you next time. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. Thank you for watching and listening. Your views, likes, comments, and shares truly make the biggest difference in supporting this channel. Don't forget to check the show notes for all the links to today's guest, as well as my links. You'll find me on social media at Love Covered Life, my website, lovecoveredlife.com, and the Be a Guest link for anybody who would like to be a guest on the channel. I have great news. Love Cover Life podcast is coming available on audio podcasts. You can find it wherever you listen to your audio podcasts.